you've heard the SBA statistics that you take 100 businesses that start today. In 5 years, only 20 of them will be around. In 5 more years, only 4 will be around. So 4% survival, and it may be even worse now, but that's been what we've heard for a number of years. Well, this next slide tells you something that's even a little scarier that I found and I found surprising, is that what people don't realize is that even if you've survived that many years and now you've decided you want to sell your business, your chances of selling your business are much slimmer than you probably realize. Of privately held businesses that go on the market, they list their business with a business broker, only 18 out of 100 will sell their business. And that's 82 businesses that really didn't meet their expectations. They really felt like they were going to cash out their business and really fund their retirement or fund another business, and their expectations weren't met. So my call is to try to help that 82% get into that 18% category, and maybe even increase that. So that's really what I feel like I'm called to do in my consulting business. This slide here is really kind of a picture of the average business owner. The average business owner has 80% of their assets are illiquid and only 20% liquid. And you take the same picture and you imagine that business value, which is about half for that average business owner, you take that away and that pie looks much smaller, and it really is kind of a tragedy. So the reason I show you this is psychologists say that we're more motivated by pain than pleasure, and so I thought I'd paint a little pain for you first, and maybe that'll motivate some business owners to work toward the pleasure side of this. Really, there's 2 things. If you want to sell your business, then the very first thing you need to work on is seeing your business from the perspective of a potential buyer. And that's the very first thing I try to help clients do that want to sell their business. Now, whether you want to sell your business or not, all of us need to be working on the second item there, which is our value drivers. So one of those 2 things, you look at the perspective of a potential buyer and work on the value drivers. This slide here is, you probably can't see it, but this is kind of the pleasure side of the pain-pleasure equation. If you really work on the right things, what I'm trying to show you with this is you can double the value, the sell value of your business in 3 years. And it's very, very simple math. It's really not that hard to do. And you can see in this slide, if you can see the numbers there, it's a very modest increase in sales, a very modest increase in cash flow, but yet doubling the value. So I can show you that or go into more detail if anybody's interested in it. But that's the pleasure side of, you really can increase the dollar value of your business. As a CEO or owner of a business, you are the general. And can you imagine how much time generals in our country must spend in planning? You know it's got to be, I haven't read the statistics, but you know it's a lot of time planning. And as CEOs and owners, we need to spend a much larger amount of time planning than we do. Plans that are written and are on the shelf, they are of no value. So I try to get everyone to create action plans that are delegated. The owner doesn't have to do everything, but delegate some action plans that link to your strategies and all your plans, and then create some sort of a review system so that you're watching on a regular basis, monthly, preferably quarterly at a minimum, that you've got a team together and you're looking at your action plans and how you are working on your strategies. So that's something I highly recommend. And then one of the things that I do recommend too, of course I'm an advisor, but most companies just don't have enough depth in their employees that can answer and handle all the challenges that a company has. So you have to bring in advisors. And it's interesting, when I got into the consulting business, I went to a meeting of about 100 consultants, and I found out that every one of us had a different specialty. And so there's a lot of niche specialties where different advisors can help you in specific areas. So wherever you have a challenge, if you don't have that depth in your own leadership team, you can find some advisors that can help you. But the other thing about advisors is you need to make sure that it's an advisor that has your best interests at heart. And all of us have probably heard stories about advisors that have sold packages or programs or whatever that really was more about the commission. Hopefully we haven't seen that here, but that does happen. So be very careful with your advisors. This slide here is really just showing a presentation that I give to people that want to do business transition planning. And my recommendation is have somebody in the middle there with the owner that works this strategy out with all the other advisors. There's a whole list of different types of advisors a business owner might be dealing with. But sometimes it's helpful to have somebody in there to make sure that every one of these advisors are all playing from the same book and trying to meet the objectives of the business owner. And one of the things that I'm sure you would recognize is a lot of times these advisors give counter advice. So, or there's a little bit of clash between some. An attorney may say one thing and the CPA is saying something else. And so we really need to try, how do we get all of these people on the same team? So that's kind of what I'm trying to communicate to you there. I love John Maxwell. He's one of my favorite authors on leadership. And if any of you have read his book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, his very first law is called the law of the lid. And that really is you can never raise your organization above the leadership skills of your leadership team and the owner is included in that. But that's kind of the lid of your company. So work on your leadership team. And I tell everyone this, and I'm sure you've heard this, is your company only has two things of value. I know you may have all this equipment and all that, but your competitor can move across the street, buy the exact same equipment. He doesn't have your employee base. He doesn't have your customer base. And that's the thing that you drive revenue with is your employees and your customers. And it takes those employees to service the needs of your customer. The customer focus, again, this is the other thing that drives value is your customers. You want to make sure that you really have a handle on your customers' needs. And one of the things that we talk about in the quality industry is really big on is what we call the voice of the customer. And one of the ways you get the voice of the customer is some sort of a survey tool, some way of measuring customer satisfaction. And usually we do a third-party annual survey and then try to create a mechanism so you still have a monthly feedback on how well you're doing. But you ask the average business owner, well, just tell me, on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100 or whatever, what's your customer satisfaction level is? And they say, well, I haven't lost any customers for a month or two or whatever, but they really have no idea. So measure customer satisfaction. And then one thing I like to do is when I get those results back, we actually even do a customer focus group and try to pull together, hey, we scored really low on our estimate response time. What's the deal with that? And let your customers tell you why you're scoring low and what you can do to improve, because you've got to focus on the customer.